What's going on, you guys? This is your boy RBG bringing you another video on Transformers Rise of the Beast, and I have been dreading making this video. Like, to be honest with you guys, I did not feel like getting up to do this, but I feel it is necessary because this is the future of the Transformers live action film franchise we're talking about. Toy sales depend on how popular this movie is, and it determines if we'll be seeing any other movies in this same continuity, because if you guys remember, Michael Bay's films, they stopped being a thing since they weren't performing well in the later years. And it's kind of crazy that we've gotten this far, because for years the live action Transformers movie franchise was a box office juggernaut. Even though they received these scathing reviews on sites like Rotten Tomatoes, it didn't reflect the movie's performance at the box office. The more the critics talked bad about this, the more money these movies made. And it kind of fed into that philosophy that the snooty critics didn't know what they were talking about and they were out of touch, and modern moviegoers are willing to consume anything as long as it has over-the-top action and explosions. It definitely seemed like the latter was the more effective approach when making these films, and the box office numbers reflected that. And you gotta give credit to Michael Bay because he did an excellent job of actually laying out the foundation for what these movies were gonna be. Like, all the negative criticisms towards his films are for the most part warranted, but this guy did manifest something into reality, and that's making live action Transformers exist in the real world. Back when we had gotten word that we were gonna receive a live action Transformers movie in 2007, we had a hard time wrapping our minds on how they would even make these things look, because even though CGI had bypassed certain landmarks, it wasn't necessarily up to par to bring these characters to life on the big screen. But thanks largely in part to the talented concept artists and industrial light and magic, we got that. We got to see all the robot chaos that Michael Bay would become infamous for, and it was an awesome start seeing what could have been if Michael Bay stayed on that same level where he had a perfect balance of action and comedy. As much as they were a bane in everybody else's existence, I didn't necessarily mind the human component of these movies, but as the sequels rolled in, I did find these characters becoming obnoxiously annoying. It's almost like Michael Bay just injected them with a speedball and just let them run loose. From Sam Witwicky's parents to some of the agents in Sector 7. And it's funny because it didn't matter what kind of actor you were dealing with, it could be a Golden Globes Award winner. This is a movie franchise where we see Stanley Tucci play a highly esteemed CEO of a tech company to a crazy CEO by the time the film ends.
Oh, this is the perfect place to hide, a big glass box. Nobody will ever find us here. That's...
And Anthony Hopkins goes from being this stoic Transformers historian to a demented old man singing ludicrous songs with his crazy robot butler.
Move, bitch, get out of my way. Move, bitch, get out of my way.
You can't make this stuff up, it writes itself. But hey, it was a formula that worked for a long time, and it ended up netting Paramount over $4 billion at the box office. Michael Bay was riding high off the success of these movies, and anytime he would say that he was completely done, he would double back around and make another Transformers movie. The first entry in the franchise made over $700 million. Revenge of the Fallen, with all its writing issues, especially during the writer's strike, made over $836.5 million. The third film and highest grossing installment in the series, Transformers Dark of the Moon, grossed over $1.124 billion. Followed up by 2014's Transformers Age of Extinction, which earned $1.1 billion. Despite having the lowest Rotten Tomatoes scores with a rotten 35% and 17% respectively, Dark of the Moon and Age of Extinction are the most successful. So yeah, even though these movie critics were saying that these movies were nothing more than empty calories, they did have an audience for them. I guess the world needed a loud movie with robots that would entertain kids who didn't really have the attention span to follow the plot. The formula was working for Paramount, so why would they stop? Well, they probably wish they would have stopped with this played out formula by the time Transformers Last Night rolled around. That movie would go on to be one of the lowest films in the franchise before others such as Bumblebee and Rise of the Beast made their ways to theaters, only coming in at $600 million at the box office, which was lower than the first entry. Funny enough, it would have the lowest Rotten Tomatoes score, coming in at 16%, which is 1% lower than Age of Extinction. It was apparent that the fans disliked these movies just as much as the critics now, and they weren't falling for the okie doke anymore. They were sticking to their guns, and this would ultimately go on to hurt the film franchise even after Michael Bay stepped down from the director's chair. Remember when I said that the movies that received the most negative reviews got the highest earnings? That would prove to be the opposite effect when it came to Bumblebee and Transformers Rise of the Beast. Both films that had rave reviews but didn't quite perform as well as Paramount wanted them to do at the box office. Bumblebee literally rolled in fresh with an approval rating of 91% in Rotten Tomatoes. The website consensus read, Bumblebee proves it's possible to bring fun and a sense of wonder back to a bloated blockbuster franchise and sets up its own slate of sequels in the bargain. Even though the movie only centered around Bumblebee and wasn't necessarily packed to the gills with robots, it was the most critically praised. Like, everybody couldn't stop talking about how good this movie was. But unfortunately, word of mouth didn't get this movie far at the box office because it only generated over $460 million, making it the lowest performing movie at the time. And I say at the time because Transformers Rise of the Beast would take that spot. That's right, Rise of the Beast finally departed domestic theaters last week after a run of just over 2 months. With the totals tallied, it's officially the lowest grossing live-action Transformers movie at the worldwide box office, grossing only $436.6 million against a production budget of $195 million. And that's not including the advertising. And that's quite unfortunate because I had high hopes that this movie would be a successful one, especially seeing how well Bumblebee was. It seemed like that movie was the litmus test because they didn't really put a lot of money into it compared to this one. And that's ultimately why Bumblebee is considered a financial success as well, because it only had a budget of over $100 million compared to the whopping $200 million that Rise of the Beast had. So in essence, this movie didn't even break even for Paramount to make any kind of money back from it. And this ultimately sets a dark precedent for the film franchise because Paramount has already shown that they aren't quite sure where they need to go. There's still a split right down the middle on if these movies serve as prequels for the Bay canon or if they're their own new thing. And we also have the executive producer Lorenzo Di Bonaventura going out of his way in each interview to say that they are somewhat associated to the Bay films, while also saying that they are brand new in their own way, which only confuses things. Since the Bay films have made Paramount a lot of money, they're obviously going to incorporate things to make it more recognizable to the fans of those films, such as Bumblebee keeping his Corvette mode and having that weird speaker face. Fans said that that wasn't necessarily the case, but it's made more apparent when they decided to give Optimus Prime his 2007 face up in Rise of the Beast, along with his Energon blades that he used in all the movies. They even used Steve Jablonsky's score at the end of Rise of the Beast, so yeah, they're still hanging on to that nostalgia and they really want fans to believe that these movies take place in the same universe, even though there are a metric ton of canonical inconsistencies. Now that Paramount has essentially failed twice to amass the same numbers they did in their former years of the Transformers movies, I fear that they're going to be panicking and trying to figure out what they need to do to make these things a success once more, because obviously nostalgia bait isn't doing it for them. Besides the negative notoriety of those Bay films hurting this movie, I also want to say that the weight hurt it as well. Like, the biggest edge that the Bay films had was that they came out on a consistent basis. We're talking 2 to 3 years between one another. But it took Paramount 5 years to release Transformers Rise of the Beast after they dropped Bumblebee. 6 years if we're talking about the main Transformers films. I'm a firm believer that if you release something frequently enough, people are going to love it, no matter how bad it is. The Fast and the Furious franchise is living proof of that. But if you sit there and wait, people are bound to move on and find something else to watch. This is why I try not to take too long to upload a new video, because I know the algorithm will wipe this channel out of existence. So Paramount really should have taken that into consideration. But it's understandable why they probably took a little bit longer, because the writer's room has to do their thing and they want to make sure they come out with a bang with this new line of movies they got. Obviously, in order to bring these characters to life, they're going to have to spend a buttload of money, so they want to make sure that it's money well spent as opposed to just being thrown down the drain. Like, I feel like if both of these newer entries would have hit over $1 billion, we would have been gotten that CGI Transformers movie that takes place on Cybertron, which technically we are getting, but it's more on a Pixar level and not on that realistic look of the Bay films. But yeah, I feel like we would have gotten that movie if Paramount was confident enough to put their money where their mouth was. But unfortunately, it's just not the time, because these newer entries, they aren't doing anything, and it seems like people are still stuck in that mindset that they're not gonna fall for it again. I honestly wish that Paramount would have just stayed with the same formula with the Bumblebee movie and just produced solo films for each individual character and then build up to it on the Avengers level. The Bumblebee movie had proven that you don't have to go all out with an insane budget to make a good film. If anything, they need to focus on doing that as opposed to trying to set up this expanded universe. Like, I know there are fans who are excited about G.I. Joe being introduced in the Transformers universe, but come on, man. It's G.I. Joe, bruh. It's not gonna do anything for Paramount. They've already proven that it's a failure 3 times in a row, which includes the Snake Eyes movie, and having it piggyback off of Rise of the Beast ain't gonna help it, especially if the Transformers movie franchise is already down bad. They seriously need to take their time and stop reaching for the stars when it comes to producing these films, because it's already been proven that if you keep on coming in with a big project, you're gonna have to come in with a bigger project, and you're ultimately gonna run out of ideas. It also proves that you can have a stacked roster of characters, but that doesn't always mean that they're going to be presented in the proper fashion, as we saw with the Beast cast, who were barely even present in a movie that shared their namesake. So dialing it down to use one single character would have been their best bet. Since this movie put a lot of emphasis on the partnership between Noah and Mirage, it could have essentially served the same purpose as that of Bumblebee, where you get that magical bond between man and machine. And then they can from there build up to the more popular characters like Optimus and segue into other characters that we have yet to see on the big screen. That way Paramount can save money and then spend it when they absolutely have to. But anyways, that's all I got for you guys today. What are your thoughts on this? Do you think that this low box office score for the Transformers Rise of the Beast sets a dark precedent for the franchise? Or do you think they'll ultimately bounce back? Let me know in the comment section below. As always, I asked you like or dislike the video. It doesn't have to be a thumbs up, you can give me a thumbs down if you want to. But if you really enjoyed this video, I would appreciate it if you shared with all your friends and followers on all the different social media outlets. Sharing really makes a difference. But once again, this is your boy RBG signing out on another video. I'll catch you guys later. Peace out. As a successful YouTube user, I often get questions asking what I use to get my videos tons of views. And the answer to that is TubeBuddy. This thing has helped me take my channel to the next level in ways I never imagined. It's a browser extension that helps new and experienced YouTubers grow fast and optimize their channels. I've been using this extension for years and it's constantly getting updated with new features, like the SEO tool that helps me come up with the perfect title, description, and tags to get more people to click on my videos. It even provides you with analytics besides your videos to see how much traffic your video is generating from various social media sites. The extension is absolutely free, but as a special offer, we're giving a 50% discount for channels that have less than 1,000 subscribers that purchase the Pro upgrade. All you have to do is enter in the code RisingStarBuddy. So if you're interested in starting a YouTube channel or taking your content to the next level, download the extension now. You can do so by clicking on this link that'll be provided in the description of this video.